Lulu Garcia Navarro, and this is First Person. So at the end of the week, my smartphone tells me how much time I spent on it each day. And I never fail to be shocked and horrified by the tally. 6 hours, 7 hours? I mean, really? What was I doing for all that time? It's a kind of fog, and I sometimes wonder what life would look like if I just got rid of my phone. 17-year-old Logan Lane did just that. She's a high school senior, and she grew up in Brooklyn, but also on the internet, as kids do in our technology-saturated world. Then, a little over 2 years ago, Logan started questioning whether living a life of constant connection was actually a good thing, and she made a dramatic decision to ditch her smartphone. Then she started a club to try and convince her peers to do the same. The aftermath has been surprising, both to her and to me. Today on First Person, Logan Lane unplugs. Hi, Logan. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you. Are you nervous?
A little bit.
I can tell. Don't feel nervous. I am gonna turn off my camera. I just wanted you to see me first so you can put a face to the voice, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Great. So here we go. Can you tell me about how you got your own smartphone? How old were you?
I think I was, I remember I first got a flip phone in fifth grade, but I believe I got a smartphone in sixth grade, so I was about 11. I remember being just so excited. I think right when I first got a phone, I also got Instagram for the first time, and I was very excited about it.
I guess around 11, it's pretty normal now for kids to get smartphones. Did your online habits change once you were able to have this device in your pocket?
So, I mean, I think it introduced the aspect of like falling asleep with my phone by my side. I could never do that with a computer because it was a desktop, but so now I could have it on demand at all times. And so I had complete control over it. And I think my, immediate impulse was to, use it all the time. And so I was always, like texting my 11-year-old friends and mindlessly scrolling.
Did it shift your sort of social group when everyone started to get smartphones and use social media? I mean, did it change the way your friends interacted with each other?
It introduced this whole new world of people to me who had gone to a different elementary school. And interestingly enough, there kind of like became this popular group that arose on Instagram. It wasn't in real life, and it wasn't people that I knew or would have known if I wasn't on Instagram. And I definitely really looked up to them. And I heard this rumor that 5 or 6 girls from like a bunch of different elementary schools, they reached out to each other in this big Instagram group chat, and they were like, we're going to be the popular girls at school.
How does that work? Do you think, to sort of decide on social media to become popular?
I feel like it was people who were sort of pretty first, really early on in 6th and 7th grade. It was the people who had boyfriends first and who dressed well.
So they were kind of Instagram ready, if you will.
Totally.
Yeah. And what did it, what did it feel like for you to be watching your peers, essentially, that you might not have had access to before, become really cool? Like, how did that impact you and your friend group?
I just felt really weird in comparison to them. And a part of me really wanted to like emulate this aspect of popularity. But then another part of me was like totally against it. Oh, like I don't care about popularity. I don't know. I was like, it felt like I went to this like reality high that did not exist.
And can you describe to me what you were like when you were on Instagram? Like, what was your social media presence?
So I was always kind of rejecting Instagram, and I would overpost, like posting. I remember in 7th or 8th grade, like posting like literally 10 or 11 kind of weird, like not flattering selfies on my story, on my Instagram story, and kind of like rejecting the flattering
Artifice.
aspects of Instagram.
Yeah.
Yet, I was still going on it, which was weird because I was like over posting. It was this thing called casual Instagram where we'd post whatever and seemingly not care, but you were still posting. So I put off this persona of not caring.
So, like, too cool to care.
Totally, yeah.
After you got your smartphone, I mean, were there ever stretches of time when you didn't have it? Or once you had it, was it just attached to you?
So when I was in 7th grade, I lost my phone. I think I left it on the bus. And so I had a good 4 months without a phone. And it was really, really nice for me. And interestingly enough, it was during this period that I first started kind of rejecting Instagram. And my best friend at the time and I would give her my password and she would change it. And so I couldn't go on Instagram for a week or a couple weeks or so. And then another strategy I used is I would temporarily deactivate my Instagram account. And sometimes I just remember temporarily deactivating it, being like, oh my God, I just want to go on Instagram. Like, why did I do this? One moment being completely anti Instagram and ready to never see it again. And then what was so embarrassing was that I wanted it back very soon after.
Mm-hmm. What happens when you get into high school? Did things change at that point?
So it felt like my life totally transformed when I went to high school because all of a sudden I went to a huge high school with 4,000 kids in it. And a lot of the kids had gone to this other middle school that I was constantly looking at on social media. And it was like reality high that I built was finally in person. And part of me was really excited, but I felt like I was always acting. I was like being this person on social media, and then in person at school, I had to emulate that because people were actually seeing me. And I really carried on this I don't care persona at this time. Like, I remember posting pictures of like my feet in the bathtub or like just really weird, unflattering things to kind of gross people out. Maybe I was like, part of me was like making fun of Instagram, but this was the period I feel like where I cared the most, interestingly enough.
Before you were in this kind of more closed in environment, but now you're like in the big world of high school where all of a sudden everyone can see you and who you are.
Yeah. I get on the train to school, and getting on the train to school is like everyone from the school takes the same train because it's kind of in the middle of nowhere. And that always felt like it was like the runway. Being on the train before school was like the runway, and it was like the social media in-person collision because all of a sudden you see everyone from school in this one like concentrated environment. You won't necessarily see them in all your classes, but you definitely will on the train in the morning.
And what's everyone doing? Is everyone staring at their phone looking at what everyone else has posted?
Yeah. Yes.
What was your life when you weren't online?
So I did a lot of painting at this time. I remember like staying up one of these times that I pulled an all-nighter and stayed up all night. I did like a self-portrait of me and some mushrooms, which I look back at and hate now. But I crocheted also. But no matter what I did, like it was all to support this social media presence. And I posted so much of my art online. Like if I did something that I was proud of, I would 100% post it. If I sewed something or knitted something that I liked, I would post it and be like, look at this cool thing I made. And I would get some sort of approval that really felt good. But it was almost like I did it knowing that I was going to post it later on.
You talked about a period when you lost your phone and having this on again, off again relationship with Instagram and other social media chats. When did you start to really worry about how much time you were spending on your phone once you hit high school?
It was in the start of the pandemic. I had like unlimited access, and I, for the first time, felt like I could be on my screens 24 hours a day. All of my school was online, and during all my classes, I would be using my phone.
I said I would do a Q&A when I hit 20 million, so here we go.
After my classes, I would be using my phone.
This is called the beauty effect, and it just makes your face
I
look
saw for the
pretty
first time what it was like to be completely unleashed into the online world.
I am 17 years old in my backyard covering my body in glitter.
That is a goal achieved.
Video. Big thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Just let me know down in the comments. Bye, guys!
And it was honestly really depressing.
Just to ask you a question about the before and after this moment, what were the physical effects of being on your phone all the time? Can you describe those?
So physically, I could not sleep. My sleep schedule was terrible. It was not regulated, and I would stay up late most nights. I also developed like this indent on my fingers where I would be holding my phone because I was just so frequently scrolling with my hands in a particular position that my fingers started shifting. And I think the rest of it's pretty it's like all more emotional than physical. But to go into that, like I was just blatantly unsatisfied with myself. I was constantly seeing something better that I could be, someone prettier, someone more artistic, and I developed this level of shame about who I wasn't.
Mm-hmm. And what was going on for you that led you to think about getting rid of your phone?
I think it came to a head at me examining the time trade, because when I started to realize that the pandemic was going to be a longer thing than I had initially expected, I would see like other people, doing reading challenges or knitting, just like using the extra time for some artistic activity. And I felt like I was the type of person who ought to be doing that, but I wasn't. I was wasting it on TikTok or Instagram. I felt for myself, if I was going to be productive, I needed to take a step back from the phone.
Take me to the moment when you're like, actually, yeah, this isn't working.
So I don't remember what was going through my head, but I kind of made this like grand walk of shame down the stairs to my parents' room. And I remember calling to my dad in the room, like, I'm really doing it. I'm never using my phone again. And I powered it off and I put it in this drawer in my parents' room. And my dad was making fun of me. He was like, there's no way this is gonna last. Like, you're gonna go back to it in a couple days. And a part of me really wanted to prove him wrong because while I knew I was this super screen addicted teenager, I wanted to be different. I wanted to use all my time productively and to make something. And so even if I wasn't doing it at the time, like I had those ambitions. And so inevitably I just kept up with it.
So you put your phone in a box. What did that actually mean, though? I mean, for example, could you still text your friends? Did you access the internet on a computer? Like, what did that look like?
So I still had an Apple computer at the time. So I still had an iCloud account. While I was still able to text, there was a difference between, being able to text and being completely plugged in on social media. So
You turned off your social media at the same time.
yeah. So I deactivated Instagram, TikTok, and then I permanently deactivated my Snapchat account as well.
That's a huge life change.
Yeah.
Was part of you scared about how it would go?
I guess a part of me, like, even from the beginning, felt like the major thing was I was going to lose friends. I was going to lose, these connections I built with people online. But I also felt like if they didn't stay, if people weren't willing to stay in touch with me over email or over my iCloud, then I didn't want anything to do with them. So I was pretty quick to reject anyone who didn't like support or want to stay in touch with me, even though it was a little bit more difficult for them.
I mean, did that happen?
Definitely.
Talk me through what the fallout was.
People kind of started to describe me as like Logan fell off the face of the earth. Like I would run into them and they'd be like, oh my God, like I haven't seen you in so long. I'd be like, yeah, like I got a flip phone. And it was really weird because I felt like I totally changed. And so on one hand, I wasn't connected with people, but then when I would run into them again, it was like I was a totally different person. And the person that they had met was someone who was really plugged in, and maybe they liked that about me, and I wasn't anymore.